Say hey everybody, what's good? This is Kwesi Jackson, Kwesi the MC. That's what I'm coming on as. This is my very first video. I figure in order to keep my life moving and flowing as I needed to, I would just come out and kind of give you a bar breakdown before I post the music itself, and then when you hear it, it'll all make sense to you. So when I put on the thing that I'm doing free verse, I'm basically just kind of, when I hear a beat, I just start rhyming to it. You know, I get a line, like the first line, and then from that line, I just kind of let the ideas take me where they will. I kind of feel like sometimes that just based on in the past listening that Lil Wayne did a lot of that. Like he'd have a title to the song, but maybe his rhymes wouldn't always have a lot to do with it. But I feel like he was just going. But I would say the guy's touching on some genius too, though, because his level of his rhymes were just next level. But you know, that's my opinion. But so I'll just kind of break down to you what I'm talking about. I think the beat is like by Fabulous. The whole thing ends up being like 2 minutes and something when I'm rhyming. But I say I don't freestyle, but I charge that to God's account, forever in debt to him for the old style that I found. Meaning when I say I don't freestyle, I really am not good at freestyling. I tend to write better. It gives me a chance to think about what I want to say, because freestyle, you have to be real quick at it. So when people say freestyle, it's dual meaning. You know, some people say I'm going off the top, meaning that they're really going off the top of their head, just flowing. But even when people say off the top, I think sometimes there are some rhymes that they've written in the past that while you rap and you might be doing something free, they get caught up on a certain part and they say yo, and they got filler parts that they do, and then sometimes those words come back to them. So, you know, I'll give you what I got. But so it says, so that's what I mean when I say freestyle. So then I go back, I say it was a freestyle. When I see him, I know I'll be like him, Destiny's Child. See what I'm saying? He gave it to me for free. Then I say, when I see him, I know I'll be, as in Beyonce, like him, Destiny's Child. So I'm mingling that in there. I got my English friends trying to help me explain some of this stuff. Like, I know what I'm saying, but what to call it, not always so much so. All right, so I say separated by another man's chicanery. Chicanery means trickery. It's like trickery when a person's trying to achieve like some type of political, financial, legal gain or advantage. Chicanery. And I say separated by another man's chicanery. He pled guilty. Now I'm pleading double jeopardy. And then I go on next. You got to catch the connection. So I use the word jeopardy. So then I say, what is Amendment 5? Because in jeopardy you have to answer with a question. What is Amendment? What is Amendment 5? So it is the Fifth Amendment that says talks about double jeopardy. So it says he pleaded guilty. He pled guilty. Now I'm pleading double jeopardy, meaning you can't try me again for the same crime. And then I go on to say Kwesi the Kamikaze rescued from a downward dog nosedive. Downward dog nosedive. But get the connection here. Namiste for the Honorary Blue Angel. So I'm connecting the line about downward dog to the next line. So I say Namaste, because they use those in yoga. Namaste means prayer. Downward dog is a yoga, if I say position or move. Kamikaze, remember Japanese had kamikaze, the guys that just take their plane and ram it into the ship or whatever, use themselves as the bomb. And I say plain, as in simple, with the plane piloted solo like a single. Solo like a single. Like I myself am solo like a single, not single person, but I'm talking about my lifestyle, taking this ownership of Rome. Then I go on to say solo like a singer at the wedding ceremony, a sketchy and patchy life sewn together, Frankenweenie. The movie Frankenweenie, I think Timothy Burton, something to that extent, makes those movies. Nightmare Before Christmas or something to that extent. I don't exactly know. I just know Frankenweenie came to my mind, so I had to use it. Initially didn't get the gist of a thimble until holes exposed me and I got stuck fixing the temple. So I never understood as a kid what that thimble was for. Like, why would somebody accidentally stick themselves in the thumb? Until I started trying to sew, and I was like, oh, that's why. So you can sew quicker without worrying about sticking your thumb. You put a thimble on. And it says initially I didn't get the gist of it until holes exposed me, and I got stuck fixing the temple, me, trying to fix me outside. It says I was putting Hilfiger upon the outside, Anthony Anderson, because I was blackish on the inside. You know, Anthony Anderson plays in the show Blackish. Needed bleaching, whitewashing like a sepulcher. No sepulcher, tomb. Clayton Bigsby and Uncle Ruckus, but talking spiritual. Understand, for those of you that have seen Dave Chappelle, Clayton Bigsby was the blind white supremacist. He was the black white supremacist, but he was blind. He didn't know he was black. And Uncle Ruckus, who on the show Boondocks, he does not like black people at all, but he's black. He says he had revitiligo. He said he was born white, but he turned black. So I was saying that I was dying, that I was dying to self. I needed bleaching, like whitewashing. They talk about sepulcher. That in the Bible it talks about the tomb. It was white. He said people were like that, dead on the inside. Then I go on to say slim and shaking it fast on something mystical. The artist Mystical had a song, Shake It Fast. Stepmaster while I'm trimming from waistline is atypical. It's not normal. I'm saying stepmaster while I'm trimming from my waistline is atypical, not normal. Stain top reminds me of my blemishes. Red words applicable to stain, I see it vanishes. Talking about the words of Christ. I thought about a stain on my shirt, meaning I'm blemished, but his red words applied to it, I see it vanish. See the stain vanish. Keep the incense lit for the innocence. The Holy Spirit is my inner sense. It's alone for the ride, a backseat driver, showing support for the righteous cause, Lady Godiva. All right. So keep the incense lit for the innocents. Talking about like the holies of holies, they would go in and they keep that incense. They had to keep that incense in there. And then I talk about how now the Holy Spirit is my inner sense. It's along for the ride, a backseat driver, because it doesn't force you. It just gives you the option. It gives you the right way, and it's up for us to choose it. Showing support for the righteous cause, Lady Godiva. Lady Godiva, it says that Lady Godiva rode nude on behalf of, it says her long hair was the only thing that cloaked her body. It was to fight against the oppressive taxation that her own husband. This is Old English. So then I'm going to say the deep calling for deep, a good diver. See, I played on Godiva and Good Diver. Ariel and Sebastian versus the rival, Little Mermaid. V with the earth suit and the zipper stuck for an appointed time like Gilligan and Skipper. See, now I'm talking about earth suit. We're gonna be on Earth. We're stuck in this earth suit until an appointed time, like Gilligan and Skipper. Remember at the end for those of you that know, at the end they eventually got off the island. Then I'm going to say Professor Anne, Mary Ann, and you're better off with cool characters on an island. Those are characters on that show. Then I'm going to say that once the lights are off, you can walk off into the sunset with the rooftop blown off, meaning drop top. You can ride off into the sunset. That was a show that they could walk off at the end and walk off. You know, it was a show, and we're saying that you live right, eventually you can walk off this set. All right, it says it's the end of days and people out here playing, yielding to a toothless feline with his game plan decaying. Talking about the devil, he's as a roaring lion. Ezekiel rolls that make me better, though bitter. Dead Sea Scrolls like burritos from taqueria. That's how it goes, taqueria. Ezekiel rolls, Ezekiel said he said eat the rolls, even though they're bitter. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, we're talking about the original, the scriptures that were found. I can't remember the exact years, but that's what came to me, so I spit it. I said, well cultured through people's instinctive travels. That's because I mentioned taqueria. I'm just talking about myself. Well cultured through people's instinctive travels, tribal quest with an X mark in the spot, cold unraveled. So there I pay homage to a group, tribe called Quest, their album People's Instinctive Travels, and it says something in the album has more in it. The album title is longer than that. It's got the song and I left my wallet in El Segundo, so on and so forth. And then I say tribal quest with an X mark in the spot, cold unraveled. And then I go on to say heart and treasure must be roommates. Fear stalks piece of the apartment ever since had to vacate. Heart and treasure, you found them in the same place where your heart is, that's where your treasure is. I said they must be roommates. And then I say fear stalks that piece of the apartment where they stay. But ever since, it has done that ever since it had to vacate. Ever since Christ came on the scene, fear has always tried to attack us. That's a bar breakdown, man. Wherever I can get a chance. Right now I'm just kind of hanging outside waiting on my wife. Wherever I can get a chance to sit and break the bars down, I'm gonna do it. So y'all understand it. Now, be blessed by these bars.